All right, so what is going on, guys? It is your boy TCG Nistro here, back with some more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. And what we are doing today is we're doing post Chaos Impact Gladiator Beasts. They got some crazy new support, and I am honestly pretty hyped with the way that the deck turned out. This is something that I've been playtesting for a while, and so obviously it's not like the perfect build of Gladiator Beasts, but I think it can get you pretty far. So starting off, we do have the 2 Test Tiger. I think you can play him at 3, honestly, if you have the space, but I honestly don't think you have the space because of how much this deck actually needs. But he's good to open, and he's good if you also don't open him because you have Rescue Cat, which can, summon out 2 of these. So getting into the actual Gladiator Beast monster, we have 2 Gladiator Beast Augustus. He's the one that you don't want to open him. He's not like a Garnet. He's only a Garnet if you draw both of them. And so that's when he becomes a Garnet. And usually before you would play Gladiator Beast Respite, but now the deck doesn't have space for Respite. But you really play him because he's like a high level that also summons another Gladiator Beast from hand. So when you Test Panther and you bring him out, you can summon out another one from hand. Or if you have extra Gladiator Beast monsters, then you can leave him on field, make it rank 8. And he's also pretty beefy, so he's pretty good. Our next high level is a Noxius. I know a lot of people like to play Vesperius because it's a Sea Serpent and it also special summons itself. But he mills cards. He protects you from being OTK'd because he can't be destroyed by battle, and he special summons himself from hand when you take a direct attack. And he does actually mill a Gladiator Beast from deck, which isn't always useful, but it does help. So next off, we got one Equeste, 1 Bestiari, 1 Darius. I would love to play 2 Darius, but I just don't think this deck has the space for it. Equeste is really nice for like recycling cards, and Bestiari is real nice for getting rid of back row and going into Gyzarus. You really don't need Bestiari anymore since we have Tamer Editor, but you can still play it just to get rid of like spells and traps and stuff. So it's not like a bad card to have access to. Next is our last one of a Gladiator Beast is our Gladiator Beast Samnite. We really only play it because it's a rescue cat target with Test Tiger. And so what happens is if you draw into him, he's a Garnet. He's a Garnet if you draw into both him and Rescue Cat. Now, if you draw into one or the other, then you can make it so that he goes back into the deck so that you can Rescue Cat into him. But if you draw into both him and Rescue Cat, then he becomes a Garnet. So just be wary of that. That's why I sort of want to play 2, but then again, I feel like I can't. And MVP of the deck, sort of, just because he's a normal monster. If Andal wasn't a normal monster, we wouldn't even care about him right now. But because he's a normal monster, Rescue Cat, Unexpected Dai, you can do so much with him. So this is like the Gladiator Beast lineup that you're playing. And for me, it's sort of been going well. I hate drawing into Augustus, but like Augustus is like almost necessary at this point. So I feel like it can't really be helped. So 3 Rescue Cat and 3 Rescue Rabbit, simply because you always want to open these guys. And the reason why is because these guys are an immediate Test Panther. It's like a free Test Panther, any one of these 6. Free Test Panther. So you always want to see it. You always want to play with it. So that's why I just max out on these. Even though Rescue Cat, you're not playing, again, if you draw the Samnite, you're kind of screwed. Or with Rescue Rabbit, if you draw into like 2 Andals and a Rescue Rabbit, you're kind of screwed. But at the same time, if you draw into 2 Andals, you can also do something with that. So just be wary. And lastly, hand traps. The rest of the hand traps you're going to be playing are in the side deck, but in the main deck, I feel like you can play this without really worrying about it. Now, Nibiru, the reason why you can only play 1 is because we play a card named Granite Loyalist in the side deck. And so if you ever actually need Nibiru, then you make Granite Loyalist first turn, you search Nibiru, then you pass. Then the next turn, when your opponent's trying to go off, you just Nibiru them. And then your turn comes by again, you can summon out Gladiator Beast monsters, attack into it, do what you need to do, and that token's pretty much gone, right? So you don't have to worry about it. You stop your opponent, and that's all that matters. And Ash Blossom is Ash Blossom. So yeah, you definitely could play more Nibiru if you don't feel like playing the Granite Loyalist, but I do because I can. So now for spells, the main sauce of the deck, which is so sad that this card doesn't have Gladiator Beast in its name, because then this would be like the most broken thing. I would only play it at 2 if it had a Gladiator Beast in its name, but because it doesn't, I'm playing it at 3. You want to open this guy as many times as you can. You don't want to open more than one of it though, which is a bit contradicting, but like, hear me out. So when you summon a Gladiator Beast monster from deck, you get to special summon one from deck with a different type. Now, that includes summoning a Gladiator Beast off of Unexpected Dai, which is why you play the triple Andal, right? That also includes summoning Gladiator Beasts off of both Rescue Cat and Rescue Rabbit. So if you summon a Gladiator Beast off of any of these 5 cards, or off a Test Panther, or off of anything else, then you get to summon out an extra Gladiator Beast with a different type. Now, usually you always summon off the Augustus on top of what you already summoned, because it has to be a different type. And, you know, Rabbit summons out the Andal, so that's Beast Warrior. Cat summons out the 2 Beast types, so you're always going to have access to summoning a Winged Beast off of this card. And so that's really why you play it, because you can get Augustus out real easily, and then from there, like, sort of extend your plays. So I do play double Proving Ground. I used to play 3, but I feel like this deck has enough search power in itself. You don't actually need Proving Ground. It's just there just in case, you know, just to increase the consistency of the deck. But honestly, I don't think you need this card. I just think it's a good card. And I don't play Atorix, the new level 4 Beast Warrior, because it kept bricking for me. And so I was like, you know, because I don't play Atorix, I actually don't need 3 Proving Ground. So I'll just put it down to 2. Next, we do have the Hornet Drones. And I'm only playing 1. I'm playing this without Engage. And the reason why is because I don't really want to have a situation where, you know, because I feel like this deck relies a lot on the top deck, where I top deck Engage and I've already used my Hornet Drones. I don't want to have that situation. And I get it. You know, you can play other Sky Striker cards, but I'm like, I'm focused more on building up a good first and second turn rather than the like grind game. And I feel like it's good if you draw it first turn, but you know, I feel like you can kind of get away with like not playing this at all. Now, if you want to play Engages, you can actually take out the Rescue Cats, because I think Cat isn't as essential to the deck as Rabbit is, and I don't see a lot of people playing Rescue Cat. So if you feel like taking it out, then, you know, yeah, you can definitely do that. But if not, you can even take this out, because I don't even play Kagari because I need that extra deck space. So it's honestly not that important if you play this or not, but it can help if you do play the triple Engage. So next we play 2 Instant Fusion and 1 Called by the Grave. And so hear me out. The reason why I'm doing this is because you need a monster, you need another monster and a Gladiator Beast to make a Test Panther. So I'm more concerned about making a Test Panther than I am concerned about negating my opponent. So, you know, that 1 Call by the Grave, just in case, you know, every so often it does happen. But these 2 Instant Fusions, there's a level 1 fusion called Millennium-eyes Restrict. And pretty much what it does is that if your opponent activates a monster effect on the field or in the graveyard, he can attach that monster to him and negate that monster's effects. And so the reason why that's so good is because it's pretty much Called by the Grave, except it's a monster. And so if they try to, you know, do something like Ash Blossom you while you control it, then you can just use Millennium-eyes Restrict and just swallow up that monster. Or if you're going second, you go into Thousand-eyes Restrict, swallow up their monster, then, you know, go into other plays. You know, there is other stuff you can play, like Mind Control, you can play like other stuff like that, but I feel like this is what I like playing for right now. If I ever feel like this is treating me badly, you know, I'll probably change it. But I hate drawing into Called by the Grave. Like, I hate drawing multiples of this card. So you can probably bring it up to 2, but I feel like keep the Instant Fusions around and try to work with just only 1 or 2 Called by the Graves. I feel like it just sometimes it just works a whole lot better for you. So next off, extenders, comeback, Monster Reborn. You can honestly get away with playing only 2 comebacks, I think, because you're going to search it with Test Panther. if you don't hard draw into it. You don't need to hard draw into it. That's the beautiful thing. If you do though, it's good. But if you don't, you know, it doesn't matter. So it's an amazing card. Don't get me wrong. I'm still gonna play. I think I'm gonna play 3 of it. But I'm saying you can get away with playing 2 if you want to like work out little things in your build. Maybe add different cards. Because I'm going for straight 40 because I want to see rejection as much as possible. But if you want to play over 40, you can stick to 3. But if you want to stick to 40 and have different strategies in your deck, I feel like you could bring this card down to 2. And, you know, Monster Reborn. And lastly, we do have 2 Dark Ruler No More and Indomitable Gladiator Beast. I hate this card going first, but I love it going second. And it's a real good card against, you know, a lot of meta decks. Even though like not many people play combo anymore, it's still good against like even if they have like 2 monsters on board. Stopping those monsters' effects are almost essential. The only problem is that they don't take damage, so you can't OTK them that turn. But still, just stopping those monster effects that could possibly negate or possibly protect their own cards, it's just too good to like to like not use. And Indomitable Gladiator Beast, it's a really good card because you can just constantly recycle it. With Heroklinos, you can drop it from your hand, and then, you know, next turn add it back. Its second effect to add it back from the graveyard is only speed spell 1. Unfortunately, even though it's a quick play spell, which is kind of weird to me. But yeah. And the funny thing is that it doesn't even need help going to the graveyard. If you ever need to just recycle Gladiator Beast in your graveyard and you have this in your hand, you can just activate this on a Gladiator Beast you control. It gains 500 attack. Then, you know, oh, look at that. 2 Gladiator Beast cards from the graveyard back into the deck, and this goes back into my hand. And I feel like playing this card is the reason why you could get away with only playing 1 Tamer editor or playing like lower copies of a lot of these cards. Because although it doesn't say it on the card, there's an official errata of Indomitable Gladiator Beast that states that this card recycles any Gladiator Beast card in your graveyard except for itself, obviously. Any 2 Gladiator Beast cards in your graveyard, including extra deck monsters, spells, traps, you know, War Chariot, comeback, whatever. And you can add this back to your hand. And you can do that as many times per turn as you want, as long as it's, you know, during your turn, since it's speed spell 1. So it's just a really good card. Now for the extra deck, Test Panther makes the deck, searches Gladiator Beast on summon, and then, you know, does the Test Tiger thing, you know, shuffle 1 Gladiator Beast deck, summon out 1 with a different name. So it's just too good to pass up. The other exceeds, other Link monsters I'm playing. Apollousa, Decode Talker, and Link Spider. So what happens with, the reason why you're playing Decode is because what happens with Test Panther is that you're going to have a Tamer editor and you're going to have another fusion on board. So what you can do is you use this Test Panther and you use that other fusion, or you use the Tamer editor to make a Link 3. Or if you have a 4th monster, you make Apollousa straight away. But if not, you usually make Link 3. And I would prefer if you played a Zefra Metraltron, because I don't have one right now, but it's a pretty good card, and I would say like it's a better card than Decode, because it can like sort of like banish cards your opponent controls. But Decode isn't a bad card to have either. So if you just need a Link 3, I feel like Decode is the one. But if you have the choice, I would say go into Zefra Metraltron. And again, if you have that 3rd monster, you know, Test Panther, Tamer editor, and a 3rd monster, just go into Apollousa. Just go into Apollousa straight right there. It's 2400 attack, 3 negates, too easy. And Link Spider stops Gladiator Beast Andal from becoming a brick. So if you have 2 Andals in hand, or you have one Unexpected Dai and 1 Andal, then what happens is that you use 1 Andal to summon out the Link Spider, and then you use Link Spider's effect to special summon out the other Andal from hand. Guess what you just have? Guess what you just made? You just made a Test Panther. Look at that. Too easy. Too easy. So now to go into the fusions. Double Tamer editor. You can get away with playing 1 of them, honestly. I feel like most duels, if you make 2 of these, it's either because you're going into a really long grind game, or it's because you're just winning more. You're just like looping Gyzarus or something like that, and you're just, you know, going, like keep on, you know, going into more fucking fusions. And so at that point, you've pretty much already won. You pretty much already won at that point. And so people might find my next fusion a little, or after Gyzarus. You know, one Gyzarus is like mandatory, but my next fusion is Gladiator Beast Andabata. And so people may not know what he does. He came out along with Tamer Editor, and so he requires Augustus plus any 2 Gladiator Beast monsters, and he has to be special from the. Oh well, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, he's a regular Gladiator Beast fusion, except when he's summoned by his own effect, not by Tamer Editor, but by his own effect, you get to special summon a level 7 or lower Gladiator Beast fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. And if he battles, he summons out 2 from the 2 from the main deck. And you can also summon Augustus again. Unlike Gyzarus here, where, you know, he requires Bestiari, but when he goes back into the deck at the end of the battle phase, you can't summon out Bestiari. You can summon out Augustus again. And if you have a way to get a 3rd Gladiator Beast monster on board, you can just go into Andabata again and just go into Gyzarus again at the end of the battle phase. So going second, this is really destructive because at the end of the battle phase, you could potentially summon 4 different Gladiator Beast monsters from your deck. Going second, this is crazy. And so this is actually a really good way. Like, okay, so let's say instead of just going into Tamer Editor immediately, you have a Augustus, and then you summon out Darius from the deck, and Darius brings back one of the Gladiator Beasts you used to summon out Test Panther. You go all 3, like let's say you have Test Panther on board. You go all 3 into Andabata, and then when Andabata is summoned, you get to special summon out Gyzarus from your extra deck, pop 2. Now, if you're going second, always summon them in attack mode so that they can attack during the battle phase. But if you're going, like, you know, if this is like later on in the game, or if you're going first, then you can just contact fuse, send them back into the extra deck, and then go into Tamer Editor, and then Tamer Editor can summon out Gyzarus again, pop 2 more cards. It's just too easy, right? It's just really good. I just love the way that this deck has started to turn out now. So, yeah, Andabata, Gladiator Beast, I think is just a real nice card to have. It's also level 8, so if you already used it and you just want to make a rank 8 and you don't want to waste a Heroklinos, you can just have Tamer Editor, summon this from the extra deck, and then just overlay them into number 38. Right? Too easy. And you know, the other 2 really good ones. He's usually the best one you want to have. So first turn, if you just have Tamer Editor and him, even though they're both dark type, they can't super poly you because Tamer Editor can't be used as a fusion material. So their super poly is useless, and Domitianus has 3,500 attack. It can negate monster effects as a quick effect, and it can choose who your opponent is attacking. So if he's on board, they're not attacking your Test Panther. They're attacking one of these 2 guys. And, you know, Tamer Editor, if he does get attacked, like for the memes, he can also shuffle himself back into the deck and summon out 1 from the deck at the end of the battle phase. And Domitianus also summons out 1 from deck at the end of the battle phase. But, you know, again, if you feel the need that, you know, you need to negate spells and traps, Heroklinos. And as I said earlier, this is a pretty crazy combo to have right here because this card can, like, recycle itself. Oh, shit, my shit ran out of flash. I'm sorry. But this shit can, like, recycle itself, and this shit can, like, so you can, like, drop it with Heroklinos to constantly make some more, like, to build more negates, right? All right. So after these Gladiator Beast fusions, I'm just going to brighten up the video so that you guys can see it. Your instant fusion target is going to be a Thousand Eyes restrict for your instant fusion target. Now, I know I said I talked about Millennium-eyes restrict earlier, and the reason why you want to play Millennium-eyes restrict is, you know, again, to like substitute for Call by the Graves. But if you don't have Millennium-eyes restrict, I think Thousand Eyes restrict will do good enough for you. Now, here's I don't want to say spiciest part of the extra deck, but I think it's like one of the most important parts of the extra deck. So number 38, right? So if you have 2 level 8s, then you can just overlay into number 38 to make someone who can like negate spells, which is, you know, as I said earlier, Tamer Editor and just use that useless Andabata, since Andabata won't get his effect if you summon him off a Tamer Editor. But it does get its, but it does make a real easy rank 8, right? But one thing you can do is that you can also play Draglubion. And so the reason why you can play him is because what Draglubion does, I know it has like a paragraph on it. Essentially, you can detach one, special summon a number dragon type monster from your extra deck, and then overlay it, and then attach a different dragon type number from your extra deck to it. And so the reason why I'm playing these two is because this just gets you extra damage on board. And the reason why I'm playing Prime is because if your opponent ever has a monster with, let's say, over like 5,000 attack for some reason, right? And you need to beat over that. It can't be destroyed, or it can't be targeted by card effects or whatever. Let's say you go Draglubion, and then you go into Galaxy-eyes Prime Photon Dragon, right? So what happens is that when Prime Photon Dragon battles, it gains 200 attack for each rank on the field, right? The rank of all Exceed monsters on the field. And just counting both Prime Dragon and Draglubion, they have a rank of 16 total. So he's gaining 200 times each rank, which means he's gaining 3,200, which means he goes up to 7,200 attack if you have both him and Draglubion on the field. 7,200 attack. And that's not even, that's just for these two. If you have any other monsters on board, any other Exceed monsters on board, like let's say they have like a Dingisru or something, I don't know. That's another 1,600 attack, because it's another 8 ranks makes another 1,600 attack. So he can get pretty big, pretty crazy, pretty easily. And even though he won't have regular Galaxy-eyes, so he'll only inflict half the battle damage, just being able to get over such high attack monsters is a pretty big deal. Now, you don't have to play these two, because having a Draglubion does take up 2 spaces in your extra deck, but I just think it works a lot better than playing rank 4s, because with Utopia double, where is, so if Utopia double, it's good for like getting over monsters as well, but the monster you summon can't attack directly, and it takes 2 extra deck spaces, and it also takes a space in the main deck, because you also have to play double or nothing. Having a monster that can just beat over anything without having to use anything in your main deck, I feel that's a lot better. Now, I know I said I was going to be playing a copy of Gallant Granite, or, you know, I called it Granite Loyalist or whatever its OCG name was, because it can search Nibiru, but you can just side deck this, right? You just side it in for the deck that you think that you need Nibiru against, and then you could just play it first turn if you have like a Unexpected Dai and a Rejection, or no, if you have Rescue Rabbit and Rejection, then you know, you go Rescue Rabbit, you go you summon out the 2 Andals, you summon out, you know, that third monster, which is usually gonna be Augustus, but it can be something else. And what ends up happening is that you can use the 2 Andals to go into Test Panther, search a Gladiator Beast, comeback. You don't even need to search comeback. You just use Test Panther's effect on the Augustus, shuffle it back into the deck, summon out Darius. Darius summons back one of the Andals. Then you overlay for Granite Loyalist, search a Nibiru, pass. Now you only use 2 cards in hand, and you have a Nibiru, and your opponent knows you have a Nibiru, and now they're going to be scared to actually do anything. So yeah. So yeah, it's a real good side deck card to have, and I think you should definitely consider playing it. You can also play Utopia double. It doesn't hurt to play it. I did play it at one point, but the thing is that let's say that you can only beat out, like let's say you go second and you have a Dark Ruler no more, and you're like, okay, so I can only play around them if I use the Dark Ruler no more. Then when you go into Utopia double, you can't OTK them because they don't take damage. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's kind of more like a last ditch thing. It's not a terrible thing to have, like if you feel like you need to beat your opponent quick, like if you're playing Orcus and they summon out Galatea in fucking attack mode, just fucking ram into that damn thing. Just ram into that damn thing and give them 8,200 points of damage. Yeah. And one last card to consider is the new Gladiator Beast Sagittari. And so what it does is that when it's special summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast monster, you can discard a Gladiator Beast card and draw 2 cards. And the reason why this is so good is because Test Panther searches a Gladiator Beast card, right? So you can search something like Indomitable Gladiator Beast, and then special summon out Sagittarius, and then after that, drop the Indomitable Gladiator Beast and draw 2 cards. And the Indomitable Gladiator Beast, if you have enough Gladiator Beasts in your grave, can also add themselves back to the hand. And the reason why this is good is because this is like a consistent draw card. You know, having a card where you can drop 1 Gladiator Beast card and potentially draw, like go deeper into your deck and draw like maybe more hand traps and stuff like that is a really good thing to have. And I think is something you should consider for your side deck if you're playing a lot of side cards in a deck like Gladiator Beast. Maybe draw into Impermanence, draw into Ash Blossoms, draw into Nibirus, draw into whatever you side. And I feel like that's the reason why you should consider playing Sagittari. I think that's it. I mean, Exotonite, if you feel like you need to like board wipe your opponent sometimes, I feel like it can be a really good card to have. You're never really gonna have like card superiority, like card advantage over your opponent usually, and then like until you like use like Gyzarus or something on them and pop their board, you're usually not gonna have more cards than they do. So Exotonite is also another good card to consider. But I dropped a lot of cards from extra deck, including Kagari. So that I could play stuff that people don't usually play, like the Andabata, and some people do play Draglubion, but I feel like you can definitely take these 3 out. You can definitely take this Andabata and that third Exceed monster out if you feel like you need space. You can probably also take Link Spider out if you feel like getting rid of a few bricks. You can probably take 1 Tamer Editor out if you feel like you need space. But that to me, that would be like a last ditch effort. Like that's like last resort. So all up to you, all personal preference. Gladiator Beast post Chaos Impact. Let me know what you guys think. I'll probably do a combo video later on if you guys want to see combo videos, but it's pretty straightforward, honestly. Test Panther, then Tamer Editor, then go into fusions. If you're going second, you attack before you go Andabata and Gyzarus, and then you attack before you do anything else to summon out 4 Gladiator Beasts from deck. If you're going first, play a little more conservatively, maybe an Apollousa, but mostly just Tamer Editor and the Domit whatever Sea Serpent guy and this guy. So if you're going first, I would say end on him. If you're going second, do your best to bring Andabata out if you're going second. So let me know what you guys think. Gladiator Beast. How do you guys like Gladiator Beast in 20 with this like post Chaos Impact support so far? So let me know what you guys think about that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.